Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Sports Report, the archived editions. I'm Dave Rusch here in St. David's, just north of the Great Niagara Falls, along with John Poulter from Toronto. John, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Dave. Always fun to chat with you on the archives.
It is, and on the archives today, we're going to discuss the career of Packer great wide receiver Sterling Sharpe. Now, John, you know that the Packers have some Hall of Fame receivers. Before. James Lofton is in the Hall of Fame. Don Hudson's in the Hall of Fame. They've had other good wide receivers like Donald Driver, who holds a Packer record for most receptions, and most recently, and he has a Super Bowl ring with Aaron Rodgers, and then most recently, Davante Adams, who's having a stellar career with the Packers. But let's go back to Sterling Sharpe. He played for 7 seasons with the Packers, and he is not on the Ring of Honor with Green Bay. He is not in the Hall of Fame. His brother Shannon is, and we'll discuss that in a little bit. But here's some of the career highlights of Sterling Sharpe and his time with the Packers. In 1992, he topped the league in yards, caught passes, and touchdowns at the wide receiver position. He was named to 5 Pro Bowls in 7 years. He was a first-team All-Pro in 89, 92, and 93. 3 times he led in 89, 92, and 93. 2 times in receiving touchdowns. He was the receiving yards leader in 92. So he had this spectacular career that came to an end because of a neck injury at the end of his 7th season. But let's just take a look at Sterling Sharpe here. He was a Gamecock, South Carolina Gamecocks. And he was drafted number 1 by the Packers in 88. And like you mentioned in prep for this, John, he never missed a game his entire career, right? That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is, especially in a sport like football where, guys get injured an awful lot. Ironic that he would play all of those games and then have a career-ending injury at the end of 7 seasons.
Well, he, in his second year, passed Don Hudson's record for 90 receptions. That was the Packer record. And also receiving yards in that year. So here's a tough guy, would go over the middle. He would make the big plays. In the Packers' 1989 instant replay game, we've discussed that here on the archives, John. Don Majkowski, they thought he crossed the line of scrimmage, but he actually didn't, and they overturned that. The Packers won the game against the Bears in 89 at Lambeau Field. That pass was to Sterling Sharpe. In 1993, when the Packers finally made the playoffs for the first time since 1982, the strike-shortened season, and before that, they hadn't made the playoffs since 72. They had a win in that strike-shortened season in the playoffs against the Cardinals, then lost to Dallas after that. Well, the Packers get in 93 finally with Brett Favre and with Sterling Sharpe. They're playing the Lions in the first playoff game, wild card round, and the Packers have 55 seconds left. They're way in their own territory. It looks like it's going to take a miracle for anything to happen for Green Bay to win. They had to score a touchdown. Favre rolls out, scrambles, has people coming at him, heaves the ball way downfield, and who's streaking? Unprotected, uncovered. Sterling Sharpe catches the ball, takes the Packers into the playoffs, and then they win the game. He had 101 yards that game and 3 touchdowns. So, and then the Packers were eliminated by the Cowboys next game, although Sharpe had 6 passes for 128 yards and a touchdown in that game. So he was great. And John, did you know that he didn't talk to the media? I don't know if you knew that part about Sterling Sharpe.
No, I didn't know that at all. Of course, in those days, we didn't see an awful lot of Green Bay games in Canada because they were in a little bit of a downturn at the beginning of his career. But I wasn't aware that he was not speaking to the media, which is kind of ironic when you consider what he does today.
Well, he, of course, became a NFL Network analyst, and he's worked for several media outlets upon his retirement. But during his career, when he was a rookie, he was upset when he was labeled an underachiever who dropped too many passes. Some local reporter, shooting his mouth off. And so he decided not, and he got a lot of flack for that over his career. But he was so good. What are the Packers going to do? They're not going to make him do it. They're not going to cut him because of it. So they just basically put up with it. But he didn't talk to the media. And so he had this fantastic career with Don Majkowski in '89. Majkowski was runner-up for NFL Offensive Player of the Year, large part because of Sterling Sharpe. Then Majkowski was injured most, next couple of years. So along comes Brett Favre in '92, and this is where he and Sterling Sharpe was his go-to guy, and Sharpe had these great seasons. '94, one of the greatest 3-year stretches by a receiver in the league. He, 92, 93, 94. 94, and he caught 94 passes, 1,119 yards, 18 touchdowns. Amazing. And then in the end of '94, the 16th game, in week 16, actually, their 15th game of the season, they played Atlanta. He was blocking safety Brad Edwards, and he jarred his neck. And then he had fusion on the first and second vertebrae, and took him 8 months to recover. So he retired at the age of 29, which in football terms, John, for a receiver is relatively young.
Yeah, very young. You have to wonder, especially with the quality of the Packer teams at the time he retired, you have to wonder just what kind of numbers he may have put up if he had continued playing.
Well, you think about that. The Packers ultimately won the Super Bowl after the '96 season. And so Sharpe was there through the '94 season. He would have been a member of that team. He would have been in his 9th season. He would have had a Super Bowl ring. Even if he didn't make another Pro Bowl or an All-Pro selection, he still would have been in that tier of Hall of Fame receivers. But his career was cut short. His brother Shannon, who played for the Super Bowl champion Broncos and Ravens, went into the Hall of Fame. Sterling was his presenter, and Shannon said he's the only pro football player in his family that went to the Hall of Fame, but he's the second best football player in his family. So that was a tribute to his brother Sterling Sharpe. Now Sterling just plays a lot of golf. He was asked by a Sportsnet. He was at Joe Carter's baseball tournament that he holds, the charity tournament that you're probably aware of, in Toronto. And a reporter from Sportsnet asked him about football. He says he's got no reason to watch. He doesn't watch it. He watched maybe 3 minutes of the Super Bowl. And he didn't even watch that in one stretch, he said. If he's not playing, he doesn't care. And he did go on to be an analyst, but after those days are over and he's not preparing for those types of things, being a commentator, then he doesn't care. He said he doesn't even care that he didn't win Super Bowl. He just wanted to play in the NFL, which he did. And so that tells us about the career of Sterling Sharpe. It's kind of interesting, a guy that talented with those kind of numbers, not on the Packers Ring of Honor or not on the Hall of Fame, John.
It is, and you have to wonder if that's something that may be corrected in coming years as the Packers look at their history. We went through a similar situation in Toronto where a lot of the former players were not formally recognized by management, and then all of a sudden a change in ownership, change in management, fresh approach. Some of the older stars were brought back in community relations roles, and all of a sudden those names are big names again. So perhaps we'll see that with the Packers.
Well, he is in the Packer Hall of Fame, but the NFL Hall of Fame, the career is a little short. The numbers not quite over time. He's just one of those borderline guys. If he'd have just had 2 more years, I think there would be no question that he would be in. And there you have it, the career of Packer wide receiver Sterling Sharpe right here on the Archives.